falling in love with someone is very like writing a story. It's kind of the same impulse where you write this entire like story of what your life would be like if you were with that person, or if they kind of, you know, took their role in your story as you have assigned it to them, rather than having their own free will and agenda. And there's that moment at which you start to realize that your story is collapsing in front of you, and it's not coming true. And that's kind of like what like Heartbreak is in a way, you know, it's the collapse of your story.
You project Irishness.
Do I? It's the freckles. I think they're coming back now. Yeah, I lived in England until I was 26 or something. 26. And then I've been in Ireland for 8.
I mean, you're getting that kind of Daniel Day-Lewis accent.
Am I?
Yeah, you do have that kind of...
Something's happening. I've lived in so many different places that I don't know what my accent is anymore. Like, my brothers have really strong Warrington accents, so I don't sound anything like them.
Is that more Manchester or Liverpool?
It's literally equidistant between them.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends in one of those like really stupidly microcosmic ways, which side of Warrington you live on. Like if you're on the north, the northish side, you have more of a Scouse twang, but ours is a more Manchester.
Is there like a divide in the town about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think most of the time it was like where you kind of had an affiliation to, like a football team, or you know, no one really. I think Warrington's got a bit better now, but when I was growing up, there was nothing there, and there was nothing there because Manchester and Liverpool were so close that everyone just used to go to one or the other at the weekend. But we were Manchester at the weekend, and other people were Liverpool at the weekend.
Well, I lived in Manchester for 4 years, and I haven't actually been back since I've been sober. I'm kind of scared.
It's changed a lot. I lived there like very briefly, and then I went back, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and it was just like tower blocks, and you know, a lot of the city centre just feels like it could be anywhere.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening now, with everywhere that you go.
Yeah.
It's becoming like almost unrecognizable, and nothing has identity.
Yeah, I hate
anymore.
that. That's one thing I've had enough of.
Huh?
That's one thing I've had enough of.
Well, save it for the end. Save it for the end. Well, with that, I'm going to say welcome to Enough About Me, and we're here with Sean Hewitt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Good. It's warm today.
It is warm, but it was chucking it down with rain this morning.
It's like humid out there.
Which is a very, I was going to say English, but it's very English and Irish.
It's very these islands that we live on.
To talk about the weather, but yeah, it's been a hot one and a rainy one. And yeah, I guess that's why it features in a lot of our literature. It features in your literature.
Yeah, I mean, Dublin over the past couple of weeks has been such bad weather. This is cold. Like the return of, we had like a week of spring, and then it just was like changed its mind.
We had that day. We had a day of summer.
Nice.
You know,
we never get a day of summer. I'm always looking at the London on the weather app and being jealous. Yeah, and I was like, it's hot over there.
Well, it was. We had on the front pages of the newspapers, hotter than Ibiza.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Which I love. I love it when they do that. You know? Yeah. They go, well, let's find a like traditionally hot place and just say we're hotter than them, just to brag. So how you've been talking about this book now?
I've been talking about it for quite a while.
At least a year.
At least.
I think I listened to an interview of you from maybe a year ago.
Yeah. I and it came out a little bit earlier in America, weirdly, which usually doesn't happen. It usually happens the other way around. So I think I did an American tour that started early April last year for a couple of weeks, which was exhausting but fun.
Why was it exhausting?
Because America's too big.
Yeah.
And I had to do like a different city every night, which meant that I had to fly every morning. So I would kind of do an event and then have to be up at like 5 a.m. to fly. And then I went from like New York to Boston, Washington, Atlanta, San Francisco, LA. And then I had to come back and the next day begin the tour here.
Oh my God.
So I was exhausted. I had to do morning radio on the day I got back from America.
What was that like? What was it like talking to Americans about stuff like this?
Americans are really they ask really big questions that throw me off sometimes. You know, like their opening gambit might be like, "What does love mean to you?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I don't know." They love a big question. But they're very warm. Like the readers are really enthusiastic. They get good crowds there. And it's really nice, you know, I always have this kind of delusion because like the UK is relatively small and Ireland's relatively small. I have this kind of delusion that people turn up because they feel compelled to, like I know people in Manchester or something. I don't really believe that people I don't know will turn up. Whereas in America, I don't know anyone. So the fact that people turn up surprises me.
Was there a difference in the way that American, British, and Irish audiences received the book?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's come out in quite a few different languages at this point, and it's weird to kind of map on what resonates with different countries. Like the Germans really like it for some reason. And I was asking the Germans why they think that is, and they were saying that because they have, they all have to read Goethe and stuff in school, and it's a bit like Goethe to them. It's like a modern. I don't know. Either, but I had to act like I had.
What is it? What is it that is similar?
I think they have like a literary movement called Sturm und Drang, which is like nature and the emotions are like really interlinked.
Okay.
And it's like there's a coming of age book, The Sorrows of Young Werther, I think it's called.
Fun.
And they kind of read it as if it was like a modern update of that book, like it was a very German book, which surprised me because that wasn't intentional.
Well, I mean, there is a folkness to the book. I literally finished reading it last night, so I'm still in it.
Good.
In my head.
You know more about it than me at this point, I'm sure.
Well, it's interesting, yeah. Like, it always takes me a while to enter a book, and then it stays with me for a while afterwards. So, like, the first couple of chapters, I'm constantly going like, and who's Eddie?
Who's this? What's going on?
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, actually? Introduce it.
So it's set mostly in 2002 to 3 over the course of 4 seasons. So you begin in the autumn and you run through to the summer. And it's about a young guy called James, who's like 15, 16, who's kind of very anxious and inside his own head and waiting for something to happen in his life. He lives in a small village in the north of England, and then he meets a guy called Luke, and becomes kind of obsessively in love with him or in lust with him or something. And then he spends the rest of the book trying to figure out if Luke loves him back or not. And I suppose the reader probably spends a lot of the time trying to figure out how much James is inventing this romance, or how one-sided it is. But it's told in like a backward glance. So you start in 2022 with James as an older, like mid-30s guy, and he goes back in time. So the voice of the book is this older James's voice, which was important to me because I started when I was writing it with James's voice, but it was a 16-year-old's voice. And then I realized I really didn't want a 16-year-old to tell the story. Just, it limited too much what he could think or feel or how he could express himself, I think.
I mean, I found it really universal, just as my experience. I think as an experience of any gay boy, that you will definitely see. I saw multiple experiences. Like I had a couple of Lukes. Let's just say that. And I just found it. It was interesting you said that, because about not wanting it to be a reflection rather than, because I do think it would tell the story in a different way.
Yeah.
There were some things that I wanted to happen.
Yeah.
That and not to like do any spoilers or anything, but I also saw things coming that you could tell that James, as a 16-year-old, could not see coming, just because I knew it.
Yeah.
And it just took me back to like me being that age. And in hindsight, like, for example, just the ability to tell who is gay and who is not gay.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible. I think it's actually like a specific form of torture. Because, you know, with young queer guys, if you're like trying to be friends with, or like male friendship around the age of like 15, 16, and probably, you know, later, can be quite like tactile and quite intimate. And it's so easy to start misreading every situation in a hopeful way. Like we all had a Luke. Everyone has a Luke. I've spoken to so many people who read the book and told me about their Luke. And some of them are still absolutely convinced that their Luke is like secretly closeted and is gonna, like, you know, like he's married with kids now, but I still don't believe it. And, you know, there's moments at which, like, you know, you might have like a sleepover, or you might have a, you know, just hug someone, but you're trying to figure out if it means the same to that person as it does to you. Like everything becomes kind of fraught, I think, when you fall in love with a straight or possibly straight boy.
I mean, it is quite.
It's quite torturous.
It is incredibly torturous, and it's incredibly. I really liked the way you described the shame of hiding the intensity of the feelings.
Yeah.
Because in a way, what happens is, especially if you're, say, a 16-year-old who, for me, my friends were predominantly straight for that period of time, and you can't express your sexuality. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, it's like more firing on all cylinders than them, you know, just in a way of like you said, proximity to these people around you, and like I still have visceral feelings. I just want to share my experience because it made me think about it so much. I had an intense crush on this boy, and we didn't have many classes together, but for a brief couple of months, I felt like I managed to construct a kind of friendship with him, mm-hmm. where we hung out, went to the gym together. He taught me a bit on the drums that I can still play. These are like core memories. And I was like writing in my diary. I was like doing like, as you are when you're like a 15-year-old gay boy, doing like spells with fucking tea leaves to try and make him fall in love with me, right? And like these were like, it was like intense. I thought about it every day. Like I kind of knew like where in the school he was at all times. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like that I could see him. And so we had this like brief friendship. We like skated together. And then in sixth form, our schools like separated. And so it's kind of like, we were like, oh yeah, let's hang out again. And we would say hi. Anyway, didn't then see him for like 10 years, but he did become like in the creative industry. And so I followed him on Instagram, and he's a good looking guy. And I look and I think my poor 15-year-old self had no chance against this boy. And he's still now, because he's a handsome straight man, it has a tendency to do front-facing camera videos. Right. And every now and then it will pop up on my phone, and I literally get transported.
You have the same
that, like,
reaction back. Yeah,
I go, oh my God, it's him.
Yeah, it's so weird. But I think that, like, you know, when I was, because I hadn't written a novel before, and I was thinking, then like the idea of like fiction just became interesting to me. And I was thinking about, you know, like what you just said, that you construct this reality or this like relationship that's based on possibility and like willing something into being and hoping that like by sheer force of will you might get there, and you can convince yourself that it's about to happen, and you've kind of written the whole thing in your head and you're just waiting for it to become true. Like you're just waiting for it to turn up. And I think that like when I was writing James, I thought like falling in love with someone is very like writing a story. It's like, it's kind of the same impulse where you write this entire like story of what your life would be like if you were with that person, or if they kind of, you know, took their role in your story as you have assigned it to them, rather than having their own free will and agenda. And there's that moment at which you start to realize that your story is collapsing in front of you, and it's not coming true. And that's kind of like what like Heartbreak is in a way. You know, it's the collapse of your story. You know, it's all falling apart. I had like 3 or 4 probably Lukes in life, and some of them like I think I haven't actually like Googled them, and one of them has a very specific Googleable name. I would definitely find him if I'm going to do that in the taxi. But I remember like there were moments of it, like I still remain slightly confused by the level of intimacy I had with this guy. I remember like I have it in the book at one point. Luke falls asleep on James, and this guy fell asleep on me, and we were like lying on the floor, and he was asleep on me, and I was lying there thinking, what the fuck do I do now? And then he got a girlfriend, and I was like absolutely devastated.
I mean, I do think there is a certain, because I also had a couple, and I think at a certain point, the last one just kind of cracks you, and then I haven't had that kind of relationship with a straight man ever since.
No, me neither. I don't think.
I think it's something that happens once you're like into your 20s. It's kind of like, okay, I can express myself now.
Yeah. I feel like you have a bit more like control over how you let yourself run away with yourself as an adult.
But I had one friendship relationship. But yeah, we like shared beds and would like party together and like shared beds, and it was just this constant like when you're like partying. And there was this constant like that scene with, I don't think it gives anything away, but like the scene in the rugby in the rugby club, you know, those kind of moments constantly. And like what was interesting is I think there is some straight men who like to have 100%. Gay men be enamored by them and kind of like encourage it and stuff. And so I kind of always, and I feel really sorry for myself at this point, but like looking back, I'm like, you poor sod. But like I accepted, he fancied girls fancied him. Okay, that's fine. I accepted that. But like, if a gay man spoke to him, I would get so
I would get like so territory. Protected. He was your straight man. No one else is going near him.
Poor Lewis. I feel embarrassed even thinking about that.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, what I wanted to, when I was writing the book, I had this sense that, you know, we're all so embarrassed of our teenage selves. And there is like, it would be, you know, one way of writing it would have just been to like satirize the whole thing and just have this push a distance between your teenage self and you now. And, you know, just make it a comedy or make it like a cringe, you know, a story about just embarrassing yourself. But I think at the time, you know, like when you're in love with this guy as a teenager, the feelings are so real. Like everything is so like heightened up that you're not actually, you don't have any distance from it. You're not ironizing it at all. So I, you know, like James is as a character just so intense in the way that he thinks and feels. But I didn't want as like an author to laugh at him or to like put a distance between me and him.
Well, I'm glad you didn't do that, because I do think that the seriousness of how he took everything informed like the decisions he made. Like, you think when you're that age, you don't have a sense of the scope of life you're going to have, and everything feels like your last chance, or feels like your only chance. Like, I have to do this, or I'm going to miss this, and I spent a lot of times shirking actual responsibilities that could have helped me in my life to like chase something that I felt I needed. And I think that kind of happens with James, where he gets this tunnel vision.
I mean, there's so much pressure on like teenage, like there's a couple of years in your teenage life where I think people really put a huge amount of pressure on like the decision. Like I remember, you know, taking so seriously, like choosing my GCSE subjects.
Really, yeah.
Because I was like, you know, I'm closing off doors for the rest of my life here if I don't choose to do, I don't know, triple science rather than double science or something like.
I do actually. I still have a resentment about the fact that my school you had options, so you couldn't do two things together, and they were like totally irrelevant, like art and history, like they were not in the same
band.
And I remember getting really annoyed about that. But I also had I thought I could fuck everything off. I was not a good child.
Were you not good in school?
No, I wasn't.
You kind of strike me as someone who would have been good in school.
I was good until like year 11. I mean, not year 11, 11 years old, till like year 7.
Okay.
I was good. I was pretty much good until high school, where I no longer wanted the validation from adults no longer hit the same way.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was I just lost all confidence in structures, in what they were telling me. I just lost everything, you know? And like I did well, and then I just crashed out in A-levels. I just stopped going to school.
Right.
Yeah. Then I had to go back and do loads of stuff. Like, I had a long way. But yeah, no, I was not good. Were you good? You strike me.
Yeah, I was good in school. But I was actually, I had, and I think I still have a quite antagonistic relationship with authority figures. Like,
well,
I don't
no,
like
you
to
are
be,
the authority figure, surely.
Yeah, no one can tell me what to do. But no one could tell me what to do when I was like 15 either. Like I hate being told what to do. That was like I was talking to my mum about this. She said like as a child, if I was told what to do, it was the worst way of getting me to do something. Like you had to like manipulate me to do something, because if I was told, I was very stubborn. And I was good at school, but I used to get really impatient with like having to do things that I didn't see the value in.
Yeah, that was a big thing that I struggled with at school. That's interesting, because your relationship to school wasn't to do with kind of like pleasing people. I find a lot of people who are like high achievers, for example, is to do with like, I want the teacher to like me.
No, it was a kind of like, I you know, you can never underestimate the power of revenge as a motivation for doing well. And I think that I probably, if I ever felt that like I wasn't getting taken seriously in something, I would do it all on my own. Like I taught myself a lot when I was at school. I would go up to my room after school and like work for like 3 or 4 hours because I wanted to prove someone wrong. I don't even know who I was trying to prove wrong.
Did you not have like an OG villain?
Yeah, a couple of teachers. I had a couple of teachers that I hated. But like, you know, I hated my PE teachers, but I never tried to prove them wrong. I was too lazy to try and prove them wrong.
I remember I had an argument with a PE teacher because this silly woman, sorry, she goes, for some reason we did dance, because, you know, for some reason I went to a school where they kind of liberalized PE to make it more accessible. So, for example, on sports day, there was like a musical team who did, things like that.
That sounds like a euphemism.
Well, exactly. And one time we had to do dance in PE, and we did Greece, and I'm from Greece. And the teacher said that Greece was a film in the 50s, a film made in the 50s about the 70s. And I was like, no, darling, it's the other way around. And I think it was because I was like a smarmy little shit that she like tried to argue the case with me, and I got in trouble because I was like being like, "No, you're stupid."
You really wound her up.
Yeah. That's the kind of kid that I was. I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't like school. I didn't want to be there, and I didn't trust them. You know.
No, I remember a teacher told me. Called me a little shit once, and then she had to apologize in front of the. I got taken into the head teacher's office, and I thought I was going to get told off. I was like 17, and
that's such a glorious thing to happen.
I thought I was going to get told off, and when I got there, the teacher was there being made to apologize to me, and I was like, I will accept your apology.
I love that. So I spent a lot of time in detention. Have I told this story before? I spent a lot of time in detention, and I did like history, and but I was a smartass, and I often didn't like being told we had to, like, I hate World War II, and we had to learn about it a lot. But anyway, I was in detention with my history teacher, and we were going on a school trip tour of Whitechapel, the Jack the Ripper tour, right? And I just never did anything that they wanted me to do. But there was this English teacher that I really fancied, who, looking back, must have been like a newly qualified teacher, like must have been like 23 or something like that. And I can remember her being like, "Lewis, are you not coming?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to go on that stupid trip," blah, 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 like doing my work. And then he came in the class and was like, "Oh, what time next week are we going on the trip?" And I was like,
"Sign me up."
I was like, "Let's actually, maybe I do want to come." And I still felt the need to come out. Was there any other gays in your school?
No, not a one.
Not one?
No, and it was quite a big school. There was... Oh, no, I tell a lie. There was a guy that left. So we had like the sixth form and the school were all in one big thing. You got you moved to a different building, but you were still in the same place. One of them left at like 16 and then came out, but he was like in the far distance at that point. No, there were like 2,000 people, and I was like the only one. I had a job at university in a bar in the village where I grew up, like when I came home in summer holidays or Christmas or whatever. And I was working there like 3 years after I'd left school, and a girl came up to me and she was like, "Were you not the gay one at school?" And I was like, "Am I still famous?" In school. Yeah, no. I don't know. There was, I mean, obviously there were people, and I don't know why, I didn't even cause a domino effect, which is really sad. I was like 15, 16, late 15.
How did you come out?
I was drunk, and because I had like, the reason that I came out is because I felt this like increasing pressure to have a girlfriend or to like, get with girls, because there would be parties and then people would be asking who got, they'd be comparing notes. And I just couldn't psychologically cope with having to do it. I'd done it like once or twice, and then I was like, I can't. And so I had a girlfriend for a little bit. But it just leads to you being really mean to girls.
Yeah.
And then I got drunk and I told loads of people. And then I had to tell my parents because I told so many people when I was drunk the night before. So it all kind of like happened relatively organically. And yeah, I didn't really have that like any trouble in school, but there was just, again, like you said, there was no outlet for anything because I didn't have another gay friend, and I had no, Manchester and Liverpool were there, but they were, a half-hour train ride away. I didn't have a car, so I didn't really have anywhere to meet anyone.
I mean, I think I desperately wanted to go to Canal Street because I watched Queer as Folk on the internet at like in the middle of the night, and I was like,
I'm going.
I needed to go, but then when I eventually went,
it's not quite as glamorous as you might hope.
So there was one other gay boy. I think there might have been more, but there's one other gay boy who I was actually not a little bit of friends with in like year 7, but like I didn't like I was.
There wasn't a rivalry
I was
there.
repressed basically, and
right.
I just caused trouble, and I would like wind him up and stuff like that. And then after school, after we left school, we became friends. And
Are you still friends?
And we're in contact, and I like his pictures on Instagram and things like that. We kind of stopped being friends. We like grew apart in like our mid-20s or something. But yeah, he was like, yeah, I knew you're gay, and he said he had a bit of a crush on me, but then not after. So maybe I was his Luke, and it was
not enough of a crush.
Yeah. And then we went to gay bars together. You know, I turned out to be like an addict and alcoholic, and he didn't. So I went like a little bit harder on the scene.
I don't think I went to a gay bar until I was maybe when I went to university, there was like a gay night that happened like once a week in a pub.
Really?
That was where I had to go.
Oh my God, I just remember.
It was awful.
There was like I Googled or whatever it was, Askjeeved, whatever it would have been at the time, Yahoo.
Askjeeved.
And I like LGBT youth things. And so I must have been about 14 or 15, right? And it was like in a centre, and it was like a little like after school club for LGBT youth. And I literally went in there for about 5 minutes, and I was like, I can't do this. And I left.
I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny with Askjeevs. My boyfriend always takes the mick out of me because I think I was so like conditioned by Askjeevs that he noticed that when I Google things, I still ask. I write it as a question.
Where is?
Yeah. How do I get from here to here or something? And Nick just writes like, Battersea to Walthamstow, and it'll come up with the answer. But I'm like, please can you tell me?
I think that's how most people.
Do you?
Do you think?
Okay. I don't know.
I still have a kind of politeness towards technology, because I still kind of think that if I'm polite now, when they take over, they'll be like, "Oh, you said please and thank you." You said please.
The AI robots are not going to destroy you and your life.
Why did you choose to set it in 2002? Isn't it? It's a bit older than you, right?
It's a bit older than me. And that was one reason I didn't want people just to think it was me, because I'd written a memoir before, and I thought that like I need to just signal in a way, not that anyone's like really cares, but that James is not just Sean with a different name. But also I wanted, I think in some ways it was like a technical issue. I didn't want instant communication between the two of them. Like the difficult thing of the plot or the book is that you can't know what Luke is thinking. Otherwise, the book would be so different if James knew what Luke was thinking, or if they could instantly communicate to each other.
Was there a point when it would have been third person?
No, it was always in first person. Okay. But yeah, I don't think it could have been in third person. Well, it could have been in third person if he just never went inside Luke's head, or he didn't go inside Luke's head very much. But I wanted Luke's head to be this kind of space that the reader didn't have access to either, because I wanted you to kind of be teased along with James, like maybe thinking that James was right, or maybe thinking that he was losing his mind a bit, or I wanted you to get your hopes up along with James, and then be disappointed.
I mean, I really did think that's something. I mean, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil it. Like maybe something that whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did, and actually, because, like I said, there were things that I saw coming that I think is like, as an adult, I was like, come on, James, this is going to happen. This, brace yourself, kind of thing. But even in the things that I wanted to happen and the things that I felt like I saw happen, there was still a kind of restraint to it,
Yeah.
And I was kind of like reading it and thinking, oh, maybe this is going to happen. Maybe that's going to happen, And then it was not quite what... I don't know if it's what I expected or what I wanted.
Yeah, I think that, when I was writing the book, I knew from the very beginning, if this isn't a spoiler, how it wouldn't end, or what wouldn't happen. And the key kind of difficulty when I was writing it was, how do I not give the people what they want without, making the book dissatisfactory to the people, life is hard and we don't always get what we want. Well, that's what I want to say to the readers.
Yeah, I was a bit like, oh, come on, Luke, let me give you a little blow in the pen.
Come on.
But actually, that is what I wanted, and I never got it. Well, not never, but that's not.
It's. I think a lot of people, the funny thing with marketing books as well is, I think there's been such a push towards like MLM romance, fiction, or as I've learned, it's now referred to as Achillean romance.
They're just trying to make it a little bit more highbrow.
They're trying to like do a sapphic, but Achillean. There's also another word that people occasionally, like when people tag your book on Instagram or something, and I'm like, I don't even recognize half of the ways that you're describing this, and it's because there's loads of shorthand internet terms that I don't know what they are, but there are all these like romance category tropes that people choose books by, enemies to lovers or lovers to enemies or whatever it is, hockey. I think the Open Heaven starts off for some readers like they know where it's going to go, and they're expecting that it will follow this trope through to its conclusion, and to diverge from that at the end and to not give the reader what they want is in some way it is a risk when you write the book. Because I wanted to ask, like, what do you get that's what is saved from that failure, or like what, if you don't get what you want, but what have you got instead? And that was like where I wanted to end the book. Am I spoiling the book? Possibly. Maybe. It's not really. I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's quite interesting. I'd be interested to know what different audiences get from this book, because sometimes, particularly the ones that have become TV shows like Heated Rivalry or Heartstopper, I sometimes feel that they are women find them quite appealing, because there's something in the fantasy of
it all going well.
Yeah,
and but I think as well. Some of those, maybe it's just being old now. But like when I watch like Heartstopper, which I think is great, and I'm glad that like that generation has it, I don't recognize it as like real or like a possibility, because school was just so not that for me, and it feels like a kind of fantasy world to me, Heartstopper. I don't know that it feels like that to like a 19-year-old.
Yeah, I do wonder. Like, I've spoken about this with a couple of people. Like, I do wonder what it would be like to grow up in a culture, and I do think there are like now a few pockets at least. Like, maybe it's shifting a little bit back. Like, I know that younger people are more homophobic, more queerphobic, but like grow up in a environment where it's like not only okay, but like kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because actually I feel like I grew up in an environment where it wasn't devastatingly bad, but it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Like gay was still this, like, still a way of describing anything that you don't like.
Yeah, I feel like you had to work to, like, you were gay, and now you have to give a little bit more to like overcome that, like, or you have to just have a very sharp tongue or something,
Yeah, I do feel, I always felt kind of what really scared me when I was younger was the effect it was having. So I've got a little brother, and it was like what you just said, that people would ask my brother about like me being like the gay one.
Yeah.
And like, I never came out well, I did come out. Basically, I told some girls, funny enough, that I relate to that. I told some girls about my obsession with aforementioned boy. And then one day, like, a boy came up to me and was like, "I heard you're gay." And like, it literally was like, "Argh!"
Did they tell the boy?
And I went back in, yeah.
Oh, no.
And I like, I was like, oh. And then it taught me that, oh, these girls also have these desires for these boys, and they are going to behave in ways that are like they're not my trusted.
No, but it's the whole thing is like a minefield. It's like the hormones are everywhere, and I think those, when you're in school, there's so much. We're talking about school a lot, aren't we? We're going.
Well, you were the one who wrote a book about 16-year-olds.
16-year-olds. But there's so much minor politics and cliquiness. Like when I was writing the book, one of the hard things, I was quite comfortable in a way with like two characters speaking to each other. But when I wanted to get in the whole atmosphere of a school and kind of gesture outwards, it was just trying to get those little moments of how it feels to walk into like the rugby club disco or whatever in Open Heaven and just notice yourself being looked at, or like that your clothes are not quite right, or that you order the wrong drink, or that you don't know the song that's cool to dance to, or that you can't dance, or that you're not dancing in the right way, or whatever. Like there's so much self-consciousness in teenagers, and they also weaponize it against each other in really brutal ways. I'm glad I'm not a teenager anymore.
I mean, and now they have it all on camera.
Yeah, awful. I'm really glad that like every social media I ever had has basically gone defunct.
Yeah. My MySpace and my Facebook, I did have I had like a little bit of a breakdown and deleted my Facebook a few years ago. So I don't actually have one.
I remember, the worst thing about MySpace was, you had like your 10 top friends or whatever, and you could, I remember moving people around in it because like, Claire hasn't spoken to me in a few days and she kind of really pissed me off at dinner. So she's been demoted to number 3. Or you could like tie people, couldn't you? Horrendous.
Yeah, and I'm glad that everything's on live, everything's there forever. Like sometimes I think about these Looksmaxxers that are all on streams, and they're all like 19 or whatever. And so their whole point is to like go to like colleges and college parties, or whatever, and like pick up girls and then have sex with them on stream. And like,
is that what they do?
Yeah, essentially, because essentially, like, we're so hot now that we can.
Okay.
And what's so funny is, I'm convinced that a couple of them are definitely gay. Do you know what I mean?
I think I was just in the taxi over there, like on my Explore page, that clavicular guy was up, and I was shocked because apparently he's 21, and like he looks older than that.
Well, he's been taking crystal meth for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him really, aside from, he seems to come up on my Instagram Explorer. I don't know what this says about me that he comes up on there.
Well, we can't escape him at the minute. I do know too much about him for my own good, to be honest with you. But
it's mad though. This, I don't know. I don't know where it's all come from.
Well,
like the Looksmaxing thing is bizarre to me. Because they're not even that good looking.
That's what's so
you put in all that work and
some of them look weird. Yeah. The meme going around at the minute, so he's done this interview with 60 Minutes in Australia.
Okay.
And so the meme is going around that like the journalist from 60 Minutes Australia is better looking than Clavicular, and it's kind of like you've been smashing your face with hammers for 3 years for some random journalist to be hotter than you. But like you invite that by making everything about looks. You invite your looks to be constantly people trying to
But it's like brimming with insecurity, the whole thing, and that it kind of makes it quite sad.
I mean, like the guy's essentially like a mentally ill like drug addict who's like 19, and you know he gets like Peter Thiel is like involved in like keeping him
really
going, which is very like the fact that I do think Looksmaxxing is very similar to the toxic side of like a gay male psyche. And so the fact that like billionaire tech like oligarch is sending money to this 21-year-old Looksmaxxer doesn't surprise me. You know?
No, it's like
what was funny is I saw a Looksmaxxer describe they have words for twink and they have words for twunk. So they call a twink a cute cell.
Right.
And and they said it's bad to be a cute cell because eventually you will not be cute and you will have to, and so they're describing twink death.
Okay.
So if you want to avoid what do they call it, descending or decomposing, whatever, that's what they call getting ugly. You have to get muscles to stop yourself from dying as a cute cell. Death. And you're like, oh, gay men invented this. Like,
what do they call a twunk?
What do they call a twunk? Like a chad or something? I don't know.
That's also sad.
I definitely think, and I've said this so many times, I definitely think that I would have fallen into it if I was.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I would have been like, how do I make
just hammering your jaw
of me? But it is true. Like they, well, essentially they get pictures of themselves when they're 13, and then they pictures of themselves when they're 18, and they go, I ascended. It's like, no, you went through puberty. You're like,
no one is good looking when they're 15.
But that's exactly. And they have all these boys like posting pictures of themselves. What do I need to do? What do I need to do?
Nothing.
But I think some of it comes from the fact that women are choosing more and more for looks now and not for like positions and money and things like that.
Okay. Interesting. What? Because like women have
financial independence.
I mean, no one's choosing 13-year-olds anyway, so they need to get over that.
Well, there's that period of time where like you think you're never going to be lovable. You know?
Yeah. I know, but you just get through it like everyone else does by developing really weird neuroses, and you know.
Well, I do think they need like men in their actual lives to just be like, just wait, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people, like a lot of people, I think, just get better looking for a really long time. Like, I don't know. I don't know really even. I think like the work that people put in to look good can sometimes be useful, but often I'm just like, you know, you're good looking anyway. I don't know if I care that much about what people look like.
Well, I just think that we've also seemed to forget about the fact that like people find different things attractive.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one person I was like devastatingly had a massive crush on. And then when I met the person he ended up going out with for years, I was like, oh, you just have a different type. You just know what I mean? Like, you just fancy a different type of person. And understanding that it's not actually about me.
Yeah.
It's just like, but I guess there's this like pressure that like there is like an archetype.
I mean, it's the kind of making a face that looks as much like all the other perfect faces as possible, you know, which is really not what is attractive to me. Like, I like it when someone looks a bit different or weird, or, you know, there's
looks
something.
Like
looks like themselves. Like, I don't want people to have like a massive, like chiseled jaw, unless they would just have a chiseled jaw. But, you know, I don't know. I find the whole thing weird. Like, the variety of human life is more attractive than.
Well, what I wonder, especially with the straight people that do it, is so you get all this surgery done, you have a child, that child
looks
like you used to look, and they think they're ugly. What are you going to do? You're going to be like, yeah, you are ugly. I got a nose job. I got a chin job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or are you gonna lie to them and go, no, you're beautiful the way? Well, you're not lying to them, but you don't believe it because you changed everything about yourself. Anyway, yeah. So what I want to know is, did you? How different is it to write a novel than poetry? Do you go about it differently?
Yeah, very different. I mean, at the risk of being really obvious, like there's a lot more words. And that it sounds like a stupid answer, but it's actually, that was one of the main challenges. Like when I started writing the memoir that came out in 2022, I remember, because when I was writing poems, everything is about condensing or the, when you redraft something, you're just trying to make it as chiseled out as possible, like no spare word, no extra thing. And also you have the benefit that hopefully like a reader might read it 3 or 4 times before they move on to another poem, like they can revisit it. I'm not expecting people to read Open Heaven 3 or 4 times to get what it's about. But I think when I write a poem, I have to have like intense concentration for like maybe 4 or 5 hours to get. I have to at least have got towards the end in one sitting. Like I can't put it down and then re-enter it and try and figure out where it goes, because I always like lose the energy or the spark of doing it. And obviously you can't write a novel in one sitting. So the novel kind of just hums along in the background. The nice thing about it is there's always something that can be done with a novel. Like if you're ever kind of stuck, you can just edit a paragraph or like describe a house, and you've done something. Like it's tangibly added to it, and it might be taken away at some point, but like at least you've done some work. Whereas with a poem, I think if I ever try and write a poem and I'm not like ready to write the poem, it will be a bad poem. Like I just have to wait to be ready to write a poem.
Yeah. How often do you write poetry then?
Like really not that often at all.
I mean, you've written enough of it.
Yeah, I've written enough. I think the thing about me is I try my best not to write, not to give up on something that I'm doing. So like I won't write poems very often, but if I do write a poem, I won't stop until I know that it's a good enough poem. So if I write like 1 a month, 12 poems a year, 2.5 years, a book, that's enough. So I'm not like, I don't write every day. I don't. And if I go like 3 or 4 months without having written a poem, that's fine too. Like I don't put any pressure on writing them. Whereas with a novel, like I do put a bit of pressure on, like I haven't written enough words this week, because I know that if I don't write it for 6 months, that's like 6 months more writing I have to do. It's just a lot more labor involved in a novel.
How long did it take you to write that?
I think about 2 years. But I wasn't like, it's not like I woke up every day and did it.
Is that like you started writing to, you had a completed thing, or is that like first draft?
I think I did the first draft in maybe about 18 months, and then I started revising it. I hate writing first drafts. I hate it. I love editing.
Even
like
your own stuff?
Going back. Yeah. I think because when you're writing the first draft, like you just feel like you're digging your own grave and you don't even know how deep it is. And like, it's just constantly, you're churning out like subpar stuff for like 18 months just because you need to get it down. And it's really depressing to me to read it back to myself and just be like, oh, this is terrible, but I have to carry on. Whereas when I have that first draft and then I go back, I know that everything I do is hopefully just going to make it better. It feels like then you start the ascent up.
Yeah.
And so I would happily, and I did with that and with all my other books, like I'll read them like 15, 20 times and just keep on editing them. And I think I could do that for like years and be happy. But the actual process of writing the first draft in the first place, I hate.
Have you read that since it's been published?
No.
Could you?
I mean, would want
you want
to?
to?
No, I wouldn't want to. No, I have. I've listened to the audiobook though.
Did you do it?
No.
Did you choose who did it?
Yeah, Sebastian Kraft, who's in Heartstopper.
Okay.
And
I know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah, he recorded it, and he did a really good job. And I was really happy to not have to do it. I recorded the memoir, the audiobook of the memoir, because they like if it's your story, like you should record it. And I just didn't want to do the novel. Because I think like actors are better at it, really. And he did such a good job. But I remember I was doing events in like maybe December last year or November, and I had forgotten too much about the novel. So I was like, I just double speeded the audiobook as I was on the plane. Just like, okay, yeah, that happens. Because I think, when you go and do an event, the readers have often just read the book. Like I did a book club on Tuesday night in Clapham, and they had all just read the book that week, and they knew so much about the book that I kind of had vague memories of, but I think they were more intimately familiar with the language of it or certain phrases and stuff than I would be now. Because I think it's kind of nothing to do with me now, Yeah. It's a reader's book now. I don't need to read it again. And maybe when I'm hopefully if I make it to 70 or something, I'll just
Madonna hates listening to her own music.
Okay, well that's fine. Yeah. I mean, one of the worst things, I have a book of poems coming out next year in America, but it's like a selection from the books that have already been published here. And I had the job of having to go back through all the poems I'd written and choose the greatest hits to make this book. And I realized that, this is about me, not about the poems, but I could not bear to look at so many of them. I was just like, oh, if I had my choice, you would only publish the last 40 poems that I wrote, because I just reject them as I go. The earlier it is, the more I want to distance myself from it.
That's
yeah, because I feel like every time I write a poem or a book or something, because it's much closer to where you are now, intellectually or psychologically, that you feel more like it is an expression of you.
Okay.
And
maybe so you feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah,
then?
I feel more comfortable with it. If it's something from 5 or 6 years ago, I'm I don't recognize the person who wrote that. That doesn't feel like me anymore.
Does that make it easier to look at it objectively then?
Yeah, or it makes you more judgmental about it, possibly. So anyway, I just had to give a bit of grace to things that I know other people like, but I wouldn't choose to include if I was being really harsh on myself. But I think loads of people do that. I think a lot of people reject their own work.
Yeah.
But in a good way, because I think it means that you've done it and you've moved on and you've changed and you're not repeating the same work over and over again. Because that's one of my fears was always that I would write another book and it was an unnecessary book. It's just a repetition of a book that I've written before. So in some ways it's reassuring to read earlier stuff and think, okay, that was its own thing and I've moved past that. It's not necessarily I've got better than that or I'm more mature now. It's just I'm not quite that version of myself anymore. I'm someone else.
Mm. You spend a lot of time, you teach literature.
Yeah.
You've spent a lot of time analysing, thinking about literature. Does that affect you when you write?
No.
Do you never think about it in that way?
I think what affects me when I write is that, like, I think primarily just reading. Like,
do you read a lot?
I read a huge amount. Yeah.
When you say huge amount, how, like, are you quite a fast reader?
I'm not a fast reader, but I will always be reading. Maybe I would spend, like, I don't know, not every night, but like probably 2 or 3 hours a night reading after work. So I could probably, read 7 or 8 books a month, and then I'll read poetry collections and stuff a lot in between the gaps.
How much of that stays with you?
Would
you read it cover to cover?
Not always, no. I'm quite a fan of giving up on books. Like, if I get like 100 pages and I'm not enjoying it, I'll just...
That's what my friend tells me. She's like a very, very fast reader. And she's like, just, if you're not feeling
sack it off. I mean, it helps that I get sent quite a lot of books for free from publishers. Because I think if I was buying them myself, I would be really loath to, throw my 16 quid away after 100 pages. But I'll go to the library or I'll go to the charity shop. I don't actually buy that many like new books.
Have you read anything that has stuck with you recently? Anything that you like?
Yeah, I read a book. I honestly think it was one of the best books I've read in a long time. It's called Will and Testament by a Norwegian woman called, I'm going to butcher her name, but I think Vigdis Hjorth.
Okay.
And so it's really, really good. It's one of those like novels that is probably like not really fictional, because when she published it, I think her sister like just had a complete freak out and wrote this book about how Will and Testament is horrible, and ironically, her sister's freak out caused Will and Testament to sell like 1 million copies in Norway, which is the way you do it. You just have to plant an angry family member. It is about a woman who she gets an email or something from her brother who she speaks to saying, did you know Mum and Dad are giving our like family cabin in the woods to our other 2 siblings, and we've been written out of the will. And have you read it?
No, I think I heard about this story.
Okay, and she, and like maybe for 100 pages or so, it's like this really like internecine, like gossipy family, like, well, if, he also got the nice car bought for him at 18. Why don't you like give me this? It's not even about the cabin. It's about fairness between like, and it's just all of this like bitchy emailing and her going off to drink bottles of wine because she's so stressed about it. And it's like winter in Norway, and she's, you get the sense that she has like a kind of depressive character. And then about halfway through, she just is so good at like dropping hints of the reason why your main character, whose name I've forgotten, doesn't speak to her parents anymore, or there is this like tension at the heart of the family. And about halfway through the book just like unleashes this like dark secret from the past through it. And you realize it wasn't really about the cabin at all. It was about this like deep 40-year traumatic secret at the heart of the family. And it's so good. You should read it. Will and Testament, it's called.
So it is me.
Yeah.
I do not read enough. I tell you something, getting a smartphone killed how much. I used to read so much as a teenager, and then I got a smartphone and it really killed it. And actually, I started a book club with a bunch of friends last year to read more, specifically to read more. But then what happens is like, the book club chooses a book you don't want to fucking read.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm part of a book club, and they won't listen to this, but they often choose books I don't want to read. But I get them on Audible and just like double speed or triple speed my way through them sometimes, like really frantically try and make this book like an hour long on triple speed.
And I just need to get through scanning the fucking pages like this.
Yeah.
I was actually, I was reading your book last week, and somebody came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, you're reading Sean Hewitt. My book club is reading it, and,
really?
and we spoke to him." And I was like, "Oh great, yeah. What did you think about it?" And she's like, "Oh, I haven't read it yet." And I was like, "Okay."
She's that member of book
club. What do you want to? Where do you want us to go?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times at book club that everyone just arrives and the opening gambit is like, I got about a third of the way through. Like, did anyone finish it? And like 2 people put their hand up, and we're like, okay, well, what are we supposed to talk about now? Because no one has read this book. Not even the person who suggested it sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so I've got one friend who is so good, and he like comes there with his little post-it notes. He's like read the acknowledgements. He's read the fucking introduction. He's got it all, and he loves
the
it.
dream. Do you have any like blocking apps on your smartphone or anything?
Blocking apps on my smartphone? No, because I just like I've had this block on my Instagram for ages.
You just
and
override
I
it?
just go ignore for today.
Yeah. I have one of those as well now. I also ignore it a lot. I did have, when I was writing, I have on my laptop and my iMac or whatever it's called, self-control, which is like an app that will block the entire, it can block all the internet off your thing for like 6 hours. And I had at one point when I was writing my memoir, I figured out how to override it. But now I've forgotten how to override it, so it is still effective.
Okay, so it works.
Yeah, it does work, yeah. But I was like, I know there's people that were like obsessed with those brick things, you know, that you can like, you can brick your phone. No, I was just like, you know, it just feels so undignified. I'm like, you don't need a brick to stop. You just go and put the phone in a cupboard or something. Or like, have some self-control.
Well, to be fair, I do physical separation, and actually, I read and walk.
Yeah.
I really like reading and walking, so I walk around my flat.
What, as you're reading?
As I'm reading, yeah, I find it really and I used to do it all the time before I had a smartphone, and now then the smartphone's just easier. But I read and walk. I read and so I find it easier to just read and walk, and that actually helps me because there's something about. Until I'm fully in a book, for example, my mind wanders as I'm reading it, and when I'm walking, it doesn't wander as much.
Interesting. Have you ever read Milkman by Anna Burns? Won the Booker Prize a while ago. And the main character in that reads as she walks for like the entire book. She's just walking around and reading, but like out in the streets.
I did it,
which I do see people do that.
I started reading Morris this morning. And I was on the train station, and I just wanted to finish a paragraph before I got on the train, so I was trying to like rush it. And a woman like looked at me, and I was like, "Oh, sorry," and she went, I always count the people who are reading books. You give me hope." And I was like, "The one time you caught me," and I'm like,
you should just take it as a prop now, like a really self-righteous prop.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think it's quite hard to read on like the tube or on a train or something. Or for me at least, without having this small sense of
I'm better than everyone.
Everyone's looking at me reading my book. I must look so mysterious and intellectual in the corner of this cafe reading my book. And that's quite a distracting, like, self-conscious. Like, I struggle to read in public for that reason because I'm like, are people admiring me for reading on the tube?
For the rest of the time, I was literally there on the tube like that. Yeah. Like hoping this lady was like looking
just
at
like
me
turning the cover up
so everyone can see.
Yeah,
classic.
Yeah.
But like I still have a massive phone addiction. So like physical separation has to happen. And like I don't know, you just have to. I know like just read to the end of the beat. You know.
Yeah,
like,
I
just
think
have to decide I'm going to read that much, and then
putting the phone upstairs really helps. I mean, I'm bad. If I had the phone like next to me, I'm like instinctively just grabbing it all the time if I'm trying to read. So I have to put it away somewhere. And I find being in like utter silence quite distracting. So I put on like ambient noise or something.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What kind of noise?
Just like rain or something, or like a Brian Eno record or something. You know, just a little.
When you're writing as well or reading?
Yeah, when I'm writing as well. I don't want the voice in my head to be like audible to me all the time. You know? I I think it's kind of the similar thing of like self-consciousness. If I was in a completely silent room, I know no one is looking at me because it's only me in the room, but like I'm looking at me.
Yeah.
And if I put on some ambient music or something, I stop looking at myself.
Well, I found I started doing morning pages because I was doing the artist's way for a bit.
What is that?
Well, you've never needed it, darling. It's for the people who don't write 12 poems a year. No, the artist's way is just this like, I don't know, course book thing that was designed by this lady who it's at people who have like have a creativity that they haven't tapped. And it's like a 12-week thing that you do certain things and like she tells you to go on an artist date once a week. So you and yourself, you either like do what you want. You like, I know people that like, for example, go to the park and draw for like 2 hours or something or whatever it is. And one of the things she says is you wake up and you do 3 handwritten pages of free form, like whatever you call it, like stream of consciousness writing.
I think that's a good idea. I'm really I used to be a really not a morning person. Like I couldn't write in the morning. I could only write at night, and so I would stay up and just write at night, and that was like where the stream of consciousness came. But now increasingly I can get stuff done in the morning, and it's also really. I think I'm quite like I'm like an animal that's like treat focused. You know, like if I have done like 400 words in the morning, I'm like, great. Now I don't have to do any work for the rest of the day. You know, and getting it out of the way early is lovely. Yeah. Because otherwise I can make that 400 words stretch for like 10 hours because I'll just be sitting there not doing it or like Googling random stuff or getting distracted by my phone. So doing it in the morning is a good idea. I also just think like doing it somewhere where you're comfortable and not like punishing yourself into writing. Like you hear so many people, like so many writers, you know, that are like, I won't allow myself breakfast until I've written 1,200 words. Like I have to have, you know, like a room that is, you know, a stiff chair and you know, like they punish themselves into writing. I'm like, it's one of the nicest things you could do. You know, why are you making it uncomfortable for yourself or punishing yourself into it? I like that. I think Patricia Highsmith has this thing where she just like used to eat chocolate and smoke in bed while she wrote because she was like, I just want to be as comfortable and happy as possible. And I really took her up on that. And I was like, no, I just write in bed most of the time.
I used to have this book called Morning Routines or something like that. And it was famous writers or maybe famous individuals, but I definitely remember the writers who were essentially alcoholics. And it was like how they did their day. Mm-hmm. And one of them, I wish I could remember who it was. It was definitely a woman. And she said she would get a bottle of vodka or whatever. And she would
mark her way through it.
She would mark the liter bottle of vodka, and she would open it with her glass, and she would sit there and write until she got to the line. Jesus and then she'd stop.
That's intense.
I wish I knew who that was.
We could make some guesses, but I don't know who that is. That sounds awful. I mean, I don't smoke, but I used to. Like when I was writing, when I was like 25, 26, because it would sit me in the chair. Because like I wouldn't have to get up very often because I was like, the cigarette would give me like an attention span that like I could sit there in that chair for like 4 hours. And if I had a couple of cigarettes along the way, I wouldn't feel the need to like get up and walk around or get distracted because like that was enough distraction. Like a cigarette would keep you company for, you know, half an hour or something. Yeah. Whereas now I just like have endless cups of tea, which is quite distracting because I'm like constantly boiling the kettle and moving around.
It's time to think, I guess.
Time to think.
Did you ever feel like the pull of that kind of tragic, not even tragic, but that kind of romantic idea of a writer like Hemingway or those kind of things? Do you think that's a very straight man?
I think in some ways it's a straight man thing. And it's also like, you know, you have to know what you can endure in life. And I, you know, part of me, I do have a kind of romantic attraction to the idea of, you know, I'll just like quit my job. How much money do I need? Like, I'll just go and move to like a cabin in the woods and I'll be happy because all I will have to do is write. And that's like my delusion that's in the back of my head, that I could be happy and do that. But the thing is, like, when I get time off work and I sit down to write, I realize that I'm no like happier for doing it, like, because I won't write all day every day. I tell myself that if I didn't have a job, I would write all day every day and just think of the things I could do. And the fact is that I wouldn't, I don't think. So I think everyone has that kind of like romantic idea, but like your social attachments get in the way of it. And the cost of living gets in the way of it, and all of this sort of stuff gets in the way.
I also just think, what would you write about? Because surely your imagination needs food.
Yeah.
To like, or nourishment. Like, I guess you could write, how many times could you write about living in a cabin?
Not many, unless you're Vigdis Hjorth, and then you can write loads about cabins. I was reading another one of her books, and it's also features a lot of cabins. But yeah, and no, I think so. I think you need to keep yourself moving. And actually, if you're being a writer, it's more like a state of mind than it is an actual. For me, at least, it's not the actual writing all the time. It's just like thinking all day, every day that you're a writer, and having your book move around in your head all day, every day means that when you sit down for like 2 hours, you can write 300 or 400 words, and that's enough in a day. Like, you don't need to, you know, there'll be people that say, you know, they write 1,000 words a day. And it's like, well, you would have written like War and Peace every year. You don't need that many words. Like, just write fewer words and make them better. That's a better way of doing it.
I like that.
For me.
I'll take that one. Okay, Sean. Tell me now, we are coming to the end. What, we are. What is something that you have had enough of?
I think because we were talking about this earlier, I'm going to go with soulless architecture. Because I think that, like, I don't want to be too William Morris about the whole thing, but like, I think that we've lost some sense of like the joy of decoration and the craft of making something just for the sake of it. And I think that it is about psychological well-being. Like,
I agree.
I think there's like direct correlation, I don't have proof, between how ugly and soulless and repeatable a building is and how you feel about yourself when you're inside it. Like, because you just feel like a repeatable person with no sense of like individuality, nothing beautiful to look at. I think it changes your mood, and I'm sick of it.
I agree. I actually have really strong opinions about it as well. I also think that, as bad as it was, maybe in the Victorian Edwardian times, these kind of like philanthropists had an idea of like making a society.
You know, like, I think about this all the time because I'm like, who in the world now would give us a public park?
Yeah.
Like, they would never give money and space over to a usable public space unless they were absolutely forced to. Dublin is really bad for this. Like, its sense of like civic space is terrible. And also it just throws up in the past like 10 years, the ugliest buildings where literally they can be on different streets in entirely different places in the city and they look like the exact same building.
Yeah.
And they're just like repeated everywhere. And they're all glass and they're all metal and I find them like oppressive, and they make the streets really cold and shadowy. I don't like them. But yeah, like public amenities. I think, obviously the reason that half of those things were possible in the Victorian era was because of a really oppressive capitalist, imperialist social structure that made labor cheap and whatever. But
it's true, but we still have that.
We still have it. So yeah.
we have people who are richer than God, but they're not doing anything.
No, I also don't think that we value manual work in any like useful way. My brother and my dad are both like joiners, and if I could never make a cabinet or a chair, and those are like beautiful things as well, and I think that we overvalue writers or whoever they are, like artists.
Just cultural.
Like it's like a cultural thing where we've kind of stopped valuing the skill of like making a really nice dovetail joint out of a piece of wood that goes into a cabinet or something. And so we end up with buildings that are horrible because there's no one left to make a beautiful like arched doorway or whatever
it's true.
it is.
We're kind of losing the skill, but we're also just losing the imagination. I think that the people involved in that aren't thinking about what it's like to live there.
No.
What it's like to. I think about these old buildings, the estates that were built in like the 20s. There was a sense of like, they might have been built around a kind of traditional family structure, but they had a sense of like, oh, the kids need to play here, and then like mum needs to see them, so the kitchen has a big window. Like none of that now.
No, I mean the house I live in Dublin is it was built by Dublin City Council in like 1910 as like a council house, and the architect, it's like an arts and crafts style house, so it has like this tiled thing above the window. It has a lovely like stone porch around the door, and it has a really long garden because the whole ethos of it was, if we're going to give council housing out, we also want it so that people can grow their own fruit and vegetables in the city and all of this sort of stuff. Like there was a thought behind it. And now if you look at like what they would build for a council house now, which they would never do because they do their best never to give away, like never to make an affordable or social house if possible. They would never think about what it looks like, what it is like to be in there. Like, do you feel like you have dignity and a sense of beauty in your surroundings from it? Like those aren't, I don't believe those are concerns for the people that are building the houses now. But they make a huge difference.
No, it's not. It's how can we turn this building into 100 units and that for whatever.
Units.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what is something that you can't get enough of?
Well, at the moment, Vigdis Hjorth, I went and bought like all of her books. I was reading a book called Repetition by her, and then the other one was called Long Live the Post Horn, which was like really weirdly, it was about an EU postal directive coming into the Norwegian postal system, and a woman that works in like a communications agency that's dealing with that. But then it's like a book about like loneliness and all the shit that's going on in her life while she's trying to deal with this postal directive. She's so good. I would read everything. And then weirdly, and I'm not really sure that I feel comfortable with why, but I have just keep on listening to Addison Rae's album.
Okay.
I think it's like when the paperback of Open Heaven came out, Headphones On, the song had come out at the same time.
What, Diet Pepsi?
No, Headphones On.
Oh, Headphones On, the song. Sorry. I thought you were saying
no.
Headphones On.
And it was the only thing that allowed me to survive the publicity tour. I think I listened to that song like 600 times. And now it's just in my head that the book and that song kind of go together. So I've just been listening to it again this week. And it doesn't get old.
That's beautiful. Did you watch her set?
No.
at Coachella. No.
I'm really bad on like celebrity stuff. I'm like, I will receive an album or something as if it like came from the ether and was made by no one, and then I'll listen to it like 500 times, and then someone will tell me like the most basic fact about that person, and I'm like, I didn't know that.
That's a nice way to produce stuff, isn't
Yeah,
it?
maybe.
So this Open Heaven is being sent off into the realm
big
of
wide
the public.
world. Yeah.
What have we got to look forward to from Sean?
Well, I am doing my best to write another novel. I'm about, I would say I'm like 2/3 of the way through the horrible first draft. But it's a very different book. It's, I don't want to say too much in case it never sees the light of day or changes, but it's set in Dublin in the 80s and is kind of a mix of like true crime and fiction. So it has a true crime at the heart of it, but I made up a story around it. It's about a murder.
I just been watching Dublin Murders.
I haven't watched it. Is it good?
It's all right. The lead guy's kind of sexy.
Who is it?
Don't know his name. He's in a show called The Capture at the
Don't
minute
need
as
to
well
know.
on the BBC.
Oh, is it the guy that's like, I started trying to watch The Capture. I watched the first one,
It's very
and now it's
silly.
really lost me at this point because, like with the, what do they call it? It's not like Inceptioning. What do they call
the
it?
cameras that
like
can
the
change
cameras that
people's
can change
faces.
people.
Yeah.
But then they were like changing. When like the guy, the sexy guy,
Yeah.
that she thinks killed the Home Secretary or
Yeah.
something. But then I was so lost by like the levels of capturing
It was
going
silly.
on.
It was silly. Are you going to watch it?
I watched the first series. I enjoyed it. I didn't watch the second one, and then my boyfriend said, "Let's just watch the third one." And I got like 3 episodes in, and I was like, I've lost my interest because I don't know. Like this is so stupid. But maybe I will at some point.
Oh, okay.
If I have a slow
You don't want
day.
to know spoilers. That's fine.
I wouldn't remember them if you told me.
Yeah. Well, you will because it's kind of like
Is it a big
it just
spoiler?
got. Well, it turns out that like the British army is being run by a supercomputer AI, and it's trying to take down the British government.
Okay.
And he's like a operative, and he's under the control, and it's just more and more layers, But
That's mad.
it is a theme. It's the second thing I've seen about the British army trying to do a coup to prepare ourselves for war with Russia. It's a theme in fiction at the minute.
That's
in
like a
television
cultural
fiction.
anxiety that's playing out in dystopian ways. I hope it doesn't happen, but
Well,
at least we've
prepared.
got shit TV about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
your
me.
time, and I think we'll leave it there. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.